Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Mr. Jadama of the Standard newspaper. I thank you so much for your interview, your special interview on current socio and political issues in Senegal, or let me say Senegambia. Like to start with your first question, in as much as Gambians are keenly interested in what happened in the development, political developments in Senegal as we speak. Looking at the recent well or heavily contested presidential election of the 24th of March 2024, where the opposition led by President-elect 𝒂𝒂𝒏 defeated the incumbent, as you rightly said. Of course, the presidential hand-picked candidate, Amadou Ba, in a landslide with over 57%, as opposed to 31% that Amadou Ba got. Of course, marking the end of the Macky Sall's regime, or Macky Sall's political dynasty, if you like, supposedly, in a humiliated and in the most humiliating manner, defeated him in almost all regions, with the 14 regions in Senegal, with the exception of Matam, Fouta, defeated him, Amadou Ba, in his own home of Grand Dakar, and defeated Idrissa Seck in Thiès, defeated the other candidates in their own regions, won almost all the diaspora from America to Europe, Asia, Africa. So this is a landslide, almost second to none, never known in the history of Senegal. No president has been defeated in a first round in such a humiliating manner. Like your question, if the Gambia can replicate the same thing, if the same scenario can happen in the Gambia in 2026, if the Gambian people can also effect change, I will loudly and proudly say a big yes. That is in the making. The Gambian people have, the Gambian opposition, especially the United Democratic Party, are solidly working on that, and have been gaining grounds, and that is a strong pointer to making sure that President Barrow and his failed government is voted out in a landslide in 2026, inshallah Rabbi. The reasons, Mr. Jadama, are explicit. The reasons are clear. The reasons are on the wall for everybody to see. But I would say that Senegal have shown a great example, and to the rest of Africa. Like yesterday, in a post in my Facebook post, I posted a post yesterday in Facebook, where I downloaded President 𝒂𝒂𝒏 elect's tribute to Ousmane Sonko, President Day, Africa's greatest hero and political icon, where he said the project, the victory of their victory of 20 their victory of the 24th presidential election victory for 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 and coalition 𝒂𝒂𝒏 president was a project of Ousmane Sonko, and he attributed most of the achievements to the leadership, to the foresightness, to the wisdom and the leadership of Usman Sonko, who suffered immensely 3 years ago. So that was just a background. Yes, of course, coming back to the question, the Gambian people will effect the same change, inshallah, because the reasons are there, because the Gambian people have suffered enough, and the Gambian people are prepared. The Gambian people have demonstrated that in the most recent previous two elections, the parliamentary, the National Assembly elections, and the local government and chairmanship elections, where the United Democratic Party, the largest political party in the Gambia, won the popular vote with more than 15,000 votes. Of course, you know that is huge. So we, the United Democratic Party, are prepared, and we are gaining grounds, and we have learned from Senegal. And henceforth, we, the United Democratic Party, under the leadership of His Excellency Lawyer 𝒒𝒐𝒊𝒏, are going to work and continue to inform the Gambian people, prepare the Gambian people, mobilize the Gambian people for 2026, for the so much desired change, change of regime, change of mentality. Hence, our 5-point agenda. The United Democratic Party, or the UDP's 5-point agenda, is clear. It is a roadmap to delivering the Gambian people from the socio-economic mess, socio-economic and political mess of the Barrow regime. The reasons are that the Gambian people have, the Barrow regime have failed woefully, so much so that in 2 years' time, the Barrow regime will only continue to fail. The corruption, the institutionalized corruption in the Barrow regime, in institutions, in public institutions, would continue unabatedly. Like we have seen a minister, a state minister, being mentioned to have been associated with a land scandal. The tourism minister at the tourism development area. That is in the news everywhere. The same minister have only been moved to the most sensitive ministry, that is the Ministry of Lands, Regional Integration and Religious Affairs. That is just an example. The Gambia government's inability to market the Gambian farmers' groundnut is another indication that the regime will be defeated in 2026, because these are scenarios that are reminiscent. The similar scenarios have been happening in Senegal, and the same scenarios continue to happen in the Gambia. Going further, this is a regime that have demonstrated complete disregard for the plight, disregard to the plight of the Gambian people. Look at the National Assembly. Look at the Gambia, the former president bill. That is a broad robbery of the Gambian people. Just like that is nothing less than two presidents at the same time with the same incentives. And you name it, you continue to give examples. So, Mr. Jadama, the Gambian people want change, economic change. better cost of living. The high cost of living in the Gambia is an example. It's a clear indication. It's a pointer to the fact that the Barrow regime cannot survive 2026. The Barrow regime have continued to be the most, or one of the most unpopular regimes in Africa as a result of the government's odds and failings. And I think it is evident, it is clear from Senegal, and of course even in the Gambia, because Barrow was voted, removed a dictator, Jadama, in 2016. So it is clear that power resides in the people. It is clear that also absolute power corrupts. These are some of the reasons, and that we are going to advance to the Gambian people. And Barrow and his regime continue to make it easy for the opposition to win. They are on the campaign trail every day, doing things that will be detrimental to the party. The NPP being one of the most disunited party today. The infights, the internal wranglings for positions is an indication that they are nowhere closer or close to winning the presidential election in 2026 with Barrow or with a handpicked candidate. The United Democratic Party shall emerge winners, and the Gambian people, democracy, rule of law, justice, development shall be the main objective of the Gambian people. Thank you. Mr. Jadama of the highly reputable and acclaimed Standard newspaper, Mr. Jadama, let me say this to the security forces of the Gambian people, of the Gambia, the security forces of the Gambia, the security forces of the Barrow regime, and President Barrow himself, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Gambia. This is a warning that we want to go down well. The Gambian people shall no longer continue to be tormented. The Gambian people, especially we in the United Democratic Party and the rest of the opposition parties, the genuine opposition parties in this country, shall not shy away from living up uprightly to fight for what we think is our democratic rights in this country. No amount of force, no amount of dictatorship is sufficient to change our move in ensuring that President Barrow is removed from the helm of power in 2026, inshallah. Nothing, absolutely, no amount of force to the Gambian security forces, especially the paramilitary, do not allow to be used by President Barrow. Do not allow your institution to be instrumentalized, to be institutionalized as a protectionist institution for Barrow and his regime. You are to serve, secure lives and property of the Gambian people, in as much as the president is your commander-in-chief. But there are protocols to follow. genuine protocols. The Gambian people should be equal before your eyes. You should learn henceforth from the encounter between the security forces of the Macky Sall regime in Senegal 3 years ago. If you look at the videos that have been trending these days, certainly you will arrive at the conclusion that the people are always right. The Gambian people do have a right to determine, to have a right to protest in accordance to the provision of the Gambian law, especially where a permit is issued by the police, by you, the police, to the Inspector General of Police. The Gambia belongs to all of us, and that under no circumstance should you allow yourselves to be used by President Barrow. You are not paid by the president. You are paid by the taxpayers' money that the regime would ask you to brutalize, apply tear gas on, forceful dispersing of legally mobilized Gambians. A bright example is what happened to the No to Coalition, APRC No to Coalition at their challenging meeting very recently. In 2026, my dear brothers in the armed forces, the Gambian people, especially some of us in the United Democratic Party, including those of us that are in the diaspora, who are denied voting, of course, who have been betrayed, who fought tooth and nail, who spent millions in making sure that President Barrow was elected in 2016, have been betrayed by the president, who have been denied by the IEC the right to vote in the diaspora, reminiscent of the Senegalese diaspora voters, who constitute more than 6% of the total registered eligible voters of the Senegalese electorates. The Gambians in the diaspora were considered as the 8th region of the Gambia, thus giving way or amalgamated in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, commonly known as Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the diaspora, I believe. But that is so-called. But the diaspora, the Gambians in the diaspora, who contribute significantly to the economy of the Gambia and the political dispensation, shall come over, register, and vote and help defend the verdict of the people in 2026. Those of us in the United Democratic Party, men, women, young and old, are determined to take up the struggle from today and come 2026, come out in our numbers, vote massively for the United Democratic Party, and come out and defend our results with our blood. We are bigger than you, the security forces of the Gambia. You are part of us. We are part of you. All of us are kith and kin. Therefore, do not allow yourselves to be used by President Barrow and co. A day shall come, just like what happened in the TRRC and the Jana Commission, where you will be obliged to come and explain and account for your deeds. Those that malhandled Usman Sonko 3 years ago are in a dilemma today. God knows if they would not come forward, if they will not be brought before a tribunal, if they will not be brought before a commission, because today Usman Sonko has triumphed. Today Usman Sonko is the hero, is the African hero. Today Usman Sonko is in charge of the presidency, is in charge of President Jomai Faye, president-elect. Is his handpicked candidate, winning candidate. He won as a result of the influence and the achievements of Usman Sonko. Nothing more, nothing less. Therefore, my brothers and sisters in the armed forces of the Gambia, please allow the opposition to exercise their freedom of association, their freedom of speech. Barrow must go in 2026, and if as he will fall, please don't allow yourself to fall with him. The Gambia is here to stay. Thank you so much. Yeah, Mr. Jadama, you see, as we go, I become more filled with ideas, and I would air them out. Another important issue to discuss is the road opening or road expansion program or campaign that the government, is it National Road Authority and you know the allied institutions of the Barrow regime have been implementing selectively in the combos, because that is where we saw them do it. I don't call it a nationwide because it has not reached the length and breadth of the country. After a while, there is a break for now. The opening up of roads expansion is normal in development, especially in the underdeveloped world. In sub-Saharan Africa, in this part of the world, it's normal to open up roads to make sure that the free movement of the traffic, of transport, goods and services and people are enhanced. That is quite innovative. But the manner in which the Barrow government carry out their road expansion is not in line with the best practice. You know, I believe personally, I'm of the opinion that it was a pretext. It was meant for a purpose. It was meant to serve their purpose of inflicting damage and discord and anger on areas that are controlled by the opposition United Democratic Party, where more electorates, especially the local councils of KMC, the Kanifi Municipal Council, and the West Coast region, Birkama Pasedi, Birkama Market, more concentration have been more on these areas, you know, which is selective justice. Because as we speak, they have not gone to Basse, and Basse is the second capital of the Gambia. Of course, that is my hometown. As we speak, I am speaking from Basse. But why has the road expansion not reached Basse yet? Is Basse an exception? How about other parts of the country? Why concentrate on the Greater Banjul area and leave out other places? It is, for me, it is a witch hunt. My perception that it is a witch hunt. It is meant to witch hunt, to torment the vendors, and give and shift the blame, and purportedly think the blame will be shifted on the councils, the opposition council led councils of KMC and the West Coast, headed by Mayor Ahmed Bensouda and Chairman Yankuba Dabo. That's all. If normally when an exercise like this is carried out, it will be based on a plan, a development plan, a fiscal plan. Of course, there will be what you call redeployment, relocation. If you remove the vendors from the KMC and West Coast, Brikama and Serekunda market, you relocate them. You look for a place where to relocate them. You do not have the place. You implement it gradually. People are selling on the streets of New York, in Paris, in London, in West Berlin, in Hamburg, in Madrid, in Barcelona. You name it. You go to Durban, in South Africa. Go to Dakar. Go to Grand Dakar. Go to Parcel. You see people selling along the streets. Of course, these are well-planned areas, but people are selling there. There is marketing going around, stalls, shops. I have not traveled to most of these places, but evidently, people that are live in these places have giving witness accounts. How can you remove people from where they are obtaining their daily income and bulldoze their stalls, and then tell them not to come back like that? You don't give them compensation. You don't give them anything. You don't have a package for it. You do that without the consent of councils, the elected, official elected representatives of the people of these areas were not duly consulted. Mr. Jadama of the Standard newspaper, this is interference. This is malpractice. This is quite tormenting. It is infuriating. And the women who are the voters, the main voters who voted Barrow into office in 2020, in 2016, the majority of the voters are some of the victims today, because there is no doubt it is the women and the youth that constitutes the majority of the voters or the electorates in this country. That one is common sense. The women, the Gambian women are crying loud and clear today. They have been removed from their essential business areas without compensation, without relocation, without remorse. We saw how the police malhandle them. We saw very recently, we saw a video where how a paramilitary officer malhandled a woman into a vehicle, a pickup, the back of a pickup. Disgusting. In this day and age, how can that government survive the 2026 presidential election, Mr. Jadama? The Gambian women are crying loud and clear. The majority of the voters in the powerhouse of the West Coast and KMC have been rendered victims, have been victimized in the name of urban planning, urban road expansion, urbanization. When people live in abject poverty, when the average Gambian survive on less than $200 a day. This is protectionism. This is polarization. It is an intent. It is with a view to inflicting damage on the opposition. That are in power in these two regions, West Coast and KMC. But why not 𝒑𝒆 Upper River region? Why not 𝒑𝒆 Upper River region? I, Ebrima Sorrie, a citizen of 𝒑𝒆, feels that 𝒑𝒆 is part of the Gambia and that the Gambia is part of 𝒑𝒆. They are inseparable. A rule for one should be a rule for all. Why? Is it because the president comes from 𝒑𝒆? Or is the president afraid to come to 𝒑𝒆 and make sure that a rule for one is a rule for all, to make sure that what happened in the Combos, to make sure that the road in 𝒑𝒆 is expanded? What are they waiting for? I don't know. I am asking. Have they been to Farafenye? Have they been to Bansang? Have they been to Soma? I do not know. But I don't think so. If so, I need information. But why not? If so, Mr. Jadama. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Hey, Mr. Jadama, I forgot one important factor that is going to lead to Barrow's downfall in 2026 unabatedly. Also, which is a malpractice, um, which is undemocratic. That is the interference in our local councils. Mr. Jadama of the Standard newspaper, certainly you are a living witness, like all Gambians that are alive today, to the fact that the Barrow government, the Ministry of Local Government, the impasse they created in the 𝒂𝒂𝒏 area council. Of course, that is being run by the opposition United Democratic Party, of course. And of course, you saw how they interfered with the KMC. You saw how they backed the CEO, the former CEO, Senator Martin, against all odds that she was accused of. You saw what happened in KMC. You saw the impasse. You saw the abnormalities, the abnormalities there. The anomalies there, I beg your pardon. You saw the anomalies there. You saw most recently in 𝒂𝒂𝒏 area council how the government backed corrupt officials such as the CEO and the finance directors who were removed, who were sent home, sent on leave by government, but were also asked to come back and being imposed on the council as a result of witch hunting or witch hunt. Of course, that is unpalatable vis-a-vis best practice, best governance practice. You saw what happened, as opposed to what happened in 𝒑𝒆 Area Council. In 𝒑𝒆 Area Council, where the General Council, of course, the chairman, the elected chairman and councillors were allowed to remove or sent on leave or to remove the allegedly or accused or corrupt CEO and finance director who were replaced. But that one rule for one was not rule for all here. That was allowed to happen in 𝒑𝒆, but it was not allowed to happen in 𝒂𝒂𝒏 Area Council. When Chairman Yankuba Dabo and the councillors in the majority asked, they or refused to work with the corrupt or controversial CEO and finance director. But what happened? Government interfered and backed them, and eventually seized their accounts and brought about an impasse. Council had to manage, had to apply a coping strategy to function. That is punishing everybody in that council. That is a local council, elected officials for that matter, Yankuba Dabo and councillors. But that is direct interference. That is dictatorship. We saw what happened to Talib Bensouda against Zainabou Martin, to the extent of deploying security forces to force the way of Zainabou Martin into the office. We saw that happen here live. A politician in the name of Honorable Ahmed Fati came and showed solidarity with the council, with the general council and the mayor at the time. This was a former interior minister and a human rights lawyer. We saw what happened in the Kauru. Is it Kauru or Kuntauru Area Council most recently, which was quite dramatic and embarrassing? How an elected chairman left his office, abandoned his office, and went to the United States of America and overstayed for how many months? 3, 4 months? 3 or more 4 months? Which was a violation, a gross violation of the Local Government Act. A gross violation of the ethics, working ethics of the of officials, elected officials. You count it and count it. We saw how the governor of the West Coast very recently tried to allocate market stalls at the Birkama market. That is not the responsibility of the governor, but the area council. Can the governor collect taxes or rents? No, it is the duty of the area council. We saw in his letter that at the end of the day, the vendors should pay rent, or is it rent or to council? We saw how government interfered in the allocation of the Basse market. The Basse market was not how area council, the opposition area council chairman at the time, Honorable Fode Danjo, was alienated, bypassed in the allocation and in the management of the Basse market. He almost ran into an issue with the president. Is it during a meeting? Was it was it during the stone laying, or was it during the opening? I beg your pardon. I believe during the opening of the market. He Fode Danjo and the president openly before everybody, publicly. This is a government that bully officials, elected officials, whose only crime is belonging to the opposition, but are equal elected officials. Like he was elected, he the president. We saw how the president today controlled the National Assembly, his majority at the National Assembly. The ruling party, the NPP, and its allied parties or coalition party National Assembly members continued, unfortunately, to be rubber stamp National Assembly members for the executive. That is for him or President Barrow. You don't have bipartisan any bipartisan spirit at the National Assembly. You don't. As opposed to Section 112, as opposed to Section 112 of the Gambian Constitution, that provides that the National Assembly members shall approach bipartisan means, bipartisan approaches when dealing with government matters, because they were elected by the Gambian people. And they represent the Gambian people irrespective of their political affiliations. But when still staying at the National Assembly, where the president remote controls the National Assembly, make sure that his will continue to be served in the National Assembly by his majority at the National Assembly. Section 109 talks about accounting executives, bringing executives to account. But we saw a minister, Honorable Hamad Ba, how humiliated and respond to a journalist during parliamentary proceedings. We also saw how some ministers respond with disregard to National Assembly members during question and answer sessions. When you go to section 110, 110, the National Assembly members have the right to bring to order, to punish anybody who tries to belittle them. But we, in addition, so Mr. Jadama of the Standard newspaper, today as we speak, in the Gambia, we have been alienated in our own country by the Barrow regime. Look at the productive sectors that are almost rendered useless. The Ministry of Agriculture is being manned, is being managed, is being headed by a nurse, not an agricultural technocrat. The Ministry of Agriculture is being run, is being combined with the Department of Livestock, without a livestock, without a permanent secretary, without a livestock expert permanent secretary. The permanent secretary 1 and 2 and the deputy permanent secretary, or PS, is it 1 or 2? The PS and his deputy are people I don't think that have any livestock expertise. The Ministry of Agriculture, that is the #1 productive sector that failed to process and market our groundnuts, that under the watch of the president, that humiliated our farmers who struggled during the rainy season. In addition to the Ministry of Agriculture, you look at the tourism sector, the plight of the tourism sector today. The Ministry of Lands, Youth and Sports, Works and Communication. Look at the ferry services. Look at the airport. Look at the Sorrie port. Look at the Ports Authority. Unfortunately, today, the Gambia, most of our goods comes through the Senegalese port, the Dakar port. You name it and name it and name it. It's serious, Mr. Jadama. Well, the lessons Gambians, your question number 4. What lessons should Gambians or do Gambians learn from the Senegalese election? The situation in Senegal. Yeah, the Gambians can learn lessons by the hard way, because you have the similarities in Senegal and the Gambia. The opposition, the incoming government of Ousmane Sonko or Diomaye Faye, of course, 𝒂𝒊𝒏 have been have been tormented, have been brutalized, imprisoned by Macky Sall, just like what the Gambian opposition are going through in the Gambia. The Gambian opposition are considered as enemies to government, as enemies to the president and his ruling party. You know, the UDP, you often hear the president come out in meetings openly attacking the United Democratic Party leader, His Excellency President Lawyer Usainu Dabo, and Mama Kande, the head of the party leader of GDC. So, meaning the struggle was the same and continue to be the same. So the Gambian people, especially the Gambian opposition, will follow suit. In short, the Gambian people have no option but to replicate the same scenario. The Gambian people, are expected to continue to fight against the third term, in the intention of the president to run for a third term, to fight down that, to campaign against that, and make sure the international community is informed, and that the Gambian people from Koina to Katong are highly sensitized to make sure that the president are not giving the opportunity to contest, just like Macky Sall was not giving the opportunity to contest. And in addition, inform the Gambian people, come out and vote massively against the regime. The Gambian people, the lessons to learn is that it is obvious now that power resides in the people, and that the Gambian, and then we, the Gambian people, have the right to choose our leaders and to change the status quo. Basically, that is the lesson. When the president was coming to power, he do not have the resources he had today. But he, the president, and those that are around him, that are in government, have enriched themselves, have continued to exploit the Gambian people. The Gambian people have continued to be poorer and poorer and poorer. So that is the lesson. The Gambian people should know that, should learn that, should know that we, the Gambian people, it will take the Gambian people to improve the situation, to change the status quo. Nobody will come from outside and effect the changes for us. We have to stand up and fight democratically, beating the dictates of the law, to make sure that any government that comes to pass shall be servant of the people and custodians of our constitution, not otherwise. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Jadama, question number 3, you said, how do I see the future of NPP under the situation in the Gambia, under the current situation in the Gambia? Well, the NPP is a party that continue to fail. This is a ruling party that was built, that was founded, that I, Ebrima, participated in founding. I am a founding member of the UDP. I brought thousands of people in the UDP during the days of Barrow Fans Club and Barrow Youth for National Development. And I was a member, an executive member of the political council. I was in Nyamina West. I participated in the Nyamina East by election. So I know the party. I was also a member, an executive member, who participated in the launching of the party, in the launch of the party in 2020. Is it January 2020? So the National People's Party do not have a future because the president, who is the Secretary General and party leader, have not been showing good examples. This is a party where it is those that are closer to the president, that have access to the president, that will continue to enjoy positions and of course other benefits. We have seen the last Congress of the NPP, the most recent Congress, National Congress of the National People's Party, where the president came and interfered and handpicked people, executives, asked that they should not be contested against. I don't need to name anybody. All of us know that is undemocratic and unfair. We have seen how the president treated NPP founder members, how he treated Ebrima Sorrie, how he treated people like members of the party whom they had issues with. We have seen Ahmed Jite. Myself and Ahmed Jite were members of founding members of the party who did everything for the party. But we saw what happened. We saw the complete disregard for efforts of party members who were betrayed by the party, myself as a living example. I defended this regime and made sure that President Barrow and his NPP continued that continued and to survive against 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒔 in 2019 and 2020. I put down my life left my home in Basse and my family, came down to the Combos and established Gambia for 5 years and peace building to defend the constitutional mandate of the president against 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒔 that were out at the time, determined to make sure that he steps down as he promised, as a campaign promise. I and my team, my executives, none of my executive members were given a single appointment. We were not decorated as an organization, a peace organization. We did not do any, what we did, we didn't do for that, but at least as members of the party, because at the end of the all of us, all members, executive members of Gambia for 5 years, with the exception of our youth leader, all became members, automatic members of NPP. People should be compensated based on their efforts in a party, but not because of they are close to you as president or because you love them more than others. That is injustice. This is the problem in NPP, and the infights, the groupings in NPP. We have seen how people like Honorable Siaka Jatta, Alkali Conte and others, Fabu Sane and others have been removed from the system and taken and dumped in the how do you call it? In the diplomatic mission, foreign missions. We saw what Siaka Jatta, as campaign manager, what he did for the party in the 2021 presidential election. We saw that. But the president is only interested in new friends. People that are not members of NPP that came from other parties today, especially APRC, Fabakary Tombong Jatta and the GDC, and even PDOIS are benefiting, are occupying positions of prestigious positions in the NPP and benefits today than founding members of NPP who struggled and almost died for the party. Look at the cabinet. Where on earth have you seen a government that would not give emphasis to its party in the name of what? Technocrats or what? Or political compensation for people who left their parties for your party? So the NPP is full of disgruntlement, and that is why the NPP will not survive it. More people will continue to leave the party. More people will continue to leave the party. Henceforth, we saw also the change of regional chairmen in KMC and West Coast and CRR South. Of course, you know this will not go down well. That will be consequential. The NPP shall continue to suffer divisions, disgruntlement, and infights. Of course, headed by a party leader and secretary general who do not treat party members equally. That has been evident. So the party do not have a future. Your second question is, what message do I have for President Barrow? The message I have for President Barrow, I have one or two options. As my childhood friend, as a brother, as a classmate, I would advise him to immediately form a government of national unity that shall be all inclusive, bring the opposition together and form a government of national unity. If possible, introduce a bill to the National Assembly that will give more powers, transfer more powers to the head of government. A government that will be headed by a non-politician, somebody who is going to be a neutral person, who will not come from any political party to be head of government, but also bring on board the major opposition parties in the Gambia, such as the United Democratic Party, the GDC, the Gambia Democratic Party, the GDC, the PDOIS, and other opposition parties, of course, in the country. Bring them together and form a government of national unity, and with powers, with executive powers. Of course, implement the anti-corruption bill as soon as possible. To the latter, in addition, crack down on corruption and corrupt officials of your government. Cut spending, stop borrowing, and then work towards a calendar, electoral calendar in 2026, and also implement the electoral reforms and the security reforms that your government campaigned for in 2026, or your party, your coalition party, I beg your pardon, campaign for in 2026. If you do not do that, if you don't hand over power gradually and continue to be a referee here against 2026, you will not only continue to fail woefully, but of course, your government may bring about an economic disintegration in the Gambia, socio-economic integration, because we know your government is struggling economically. The Gambian economy is a tax-based economy, inflated tax, inflated tax. The Gambian people are finding it extremely difficult to cope with your new tax regime. The tax regime is is reminiscent of a broad day robbery of the Gambian people and Gambian businesses. Of course, there is need to revisit the tax regime, reduce it, so that the Gambian people, especially Gambian businesses, will be able to bring down Gambian prices. Because there is no way it is possible for the Ministry of Trade to bring about to revisit the prices or bring about price control in the Gambia when you continue to increase tax massively and exorbitantly. At the end of the day, it is only the Gambian masses, the Gambian taxpayers that will continue to suffer. The second option is, if you cannot do that, you resign and call for early elections. You resign and call for early elections, because you cannot continue to lead the Gambia out of the socio-economic and political mess that you have dragged the country to today. It's not possible. You don't have the capacity, and none of your government officials and NPP officials have the capacity. You are surrounded by people who are not interested in the welfare of the Gambian people, who are not interested in a legacy for you, in a legacy, in a good legacy, but are interested in enriching themselves. That is eminent today in your government. You have lost control of the government, Mr. President. Therefore, you either form a government of national unity and hand over, transfer powers, and empower them to deliver, so that the Gambia is intact, so that the Gambia do not disintegrate socially and economically, or you resigned and call for early elections. And also, in addition, do not also in addition think of imposing a candidate on the Gambian people like Macky Sall did in Senegal, because it is going to be detrimental, it will be embarrassing, you will fail woefully. Of course, the NPP have a right to continue as a party and can file a candidate, but don't you, President Barrow, should not interfere, should not impose the candidate like Macky Sall did in Senegal. Those are the only solutions. The ministry, and in that case, the new head of government would immediately dissolve parliament, dissolve cabinet, and appoint new cabinet members, new cabinet ministers technocrats with experience, that is to say, dissolve your cabinet as soon as possible, because your cabinet, the present day cabinet, would not be able to live up to expectation.